hot weather fragrances. In certain areas of the world, it's always hot, including Florida, where I live, where it's a nice toasty 92 degrees almost all the time, meaning you kind of have to part ways with some of your perhaps preferred fragrances, especially if they are smoky, musky, spicy, or in general just very heavy, which is sad for me because I usually prefer heavier fragrances, and the problem when you wear those fragrances in hot weather, they become unbearable. They become suffocating. You don't want to wear them anymore. You want to jump into a pool and wash off because it just, I don't know what the heat does to it, but the solution is to wear fragrances that work better with hot temperatures. And in general, those consist of light, citrusy, or floral fragrances of some kind. So I've compiled a small list of fragrances that I have personally tested in extremely hot and humid weather, and I find that these are some of the best performing. So I'm going to start with technically a men's fragrance, although I would argue it's unisex. Dior Homme. Doesn't really matter what type of Dior Homme. This is Eau for men. Dior Homme is good, in my opinion, for hot weather because it has a really nice iris floral note, or at least some versions do, and it's just a very nice kind of natural, clean, smooth, fresh fragrance. It's just so nice. It's like being in a cool, dewy garden. You know, like there's some florals around you. Not super floral. This is still a men's fragrance, not super feminine or anything, but it has that unisex floral / more masculine notes. Very, very nice. Very, with a little tinge of it's just fresh. It's just nice and crisp and clean, and yet not too overbearing. It's not necessarily as strong as Dylan Blue by Versace, for instance. It's like I said, smooth, even, balanced, very, very nice for hot weather. Then, if you want a more stereotypically feminine option, you can go for Red Door by Elizabeth Arden. This is all florals. This is the most floral you can get. I can't even list off all the florals that are in this because there's too many. There's also a very interesting note of honey, which sweetens up the blend. And I would say it has a powdery note. I can't necessarily say from what note in particular, but it is definitely very, very powdery, very floral. Even though it's sweet, it's not extremely sweet. It's not as sweet as, say, La Vie est Belle with like that candy note. This is just more natural floral sweet. So very, very kind of springtime-esque, especially good for even if it's 100 degrees outside. This is probably going to smell pretty good. Which is good because sometimes you don't want to go too sweet. Like, even I would say La Vie est Belle is too sweet for hot weather because it'll just get sickly sweet. So this is really nice if you want something sweet, but you want to actually survive the hot weather without getting yourself and other people sick. So then, on a much more refreshing note, I would say Light Blue by Dolce & Gabbana. This is Eau Intense, but I would say any version of Light Blue is fine. Very citrusy, very kind of a strong note of green apple, Granny Smith apple. And just from the citrus and the apple, extremely crisp, extremely bright, kind of juicy. The sweetness is pretty low. I would say it's more of a dry sweetness, kind of like a dry wine. In general, you can imagine yourself at a beach or kind of in a lemon grove. I believe there are a few florals, but they don't really contribute too much here. It's really the apple note and the citrus. Very, very nice for hot weather, of course. Anything with citrus is going to be great for hot weather. Main qualm I have is that it's not extremely long lasting, which is a problem because when it's actually really hot, you're going to start sweating and the perfume's just going to sweat right off of you. So it's fine if you know you're not going to be sweating too much, but if it's like really humid, maybe not the best option, but otherwise, really good option. It'll probably last 4 hours-ish, not super long lasting, but definitely a good, if you want to freshen up, spruce up a little bit, or if you want to carry a little sample, a vial with you, just to spray on throughout the day, that's also a good idea. Then the next one, Aqua dijo by Armani. This is typically a men's fragrance, perhaps unisex. This is really, really good, regardless of gender, for hot weather, because it's pure citrus and pure kind of herbal floral notes. So when I think of Aqua dijo, I think of super fresh kind of ocean breeze. Just very like rosemary, some floral, some citrus, a few wood notes, dry wood notes. They're not really too prominent, but in general, a very, very light fragrance, very refreshing. Similar to light blue, it's not super long lasting. However, if you keep a little vial with you, you can freshen up throughout the day. This is probably also a 4 to 5 hour fragrance, so not super long lasting, but still definitely a good choice if you know you're not going to be digging a ditch outside in the heat. You're just maybe going out for lunch or something, to a picnic, walk through the park, walking your dog. This is good for that. Just casual daytime fragrance. And it's very pleasant to smell as well. Very, light, enjoyable, welcoming sort of fragrance. Then, for both casual and more formal occasions, Chanel number 5. So this, the main thing, overall it's good for hot weather. The main thing that makes it slightly not great for hot weather is the civet note. The civet note is the more animalistic musk note that it has. And because musk notes usually don't do well in the heat, that's the main thing that's going to drag it down, especially because the civet note in this is, it comes out more the longer you wear the fragrance, so it can become a little bit kind of unpleasant to smell over, the 5th or 6th hour of wearing it. However, again, if you're not going to be boiling under the sun all day, if you're just maybe going to go for a walk or to lunch or something, this is fine. This, if you're not going to be sweating all day, this is fine, because that civet note won't have the chance to become too grotesquely prominent. It'll just be its normal self. And besides that civet note, Chanel number 5 has some very delicious florals, as well as aldehydes, and the aldehydes do really well in the hot weather. It helps brighten up, freshen up the fragrance. It also has some sandalwood and amber notes, which make it more interesting. And it's a classic fragrance, so you really can't go wrong with it. Like I said, unless you're going to dig a ditch or something. Other than that, great option. So that's pretty much all I have to say about fragrances for hot weather. In my opinion, all of these do really, really well, not only standing up to the constant heat of, say, the summer, or if you're just in a hot state like Florida or Texas or Arizona, but these are also just pleasant to smell in the heat. They're not going to start smelling rancid or just sickly once they're exposed to the heat, because a lot of fragrances will become very unpleasant to smell if they're not kind of designed for hot weather. And usually those are fragrances that are very heavily musky or smoky or woodsy, but in general, these are light and enjoyable. So that's pretty much all I have to say about fragrances for hot weather. If you have any questions or recommendations, you can always leave those down in the comment section below. If you like the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.